Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy. I'm here with Brendan, and this is where we talk Cardinals baseball. Today, we're going to kind of give some grades on the offseason that the Cardinals have. Did they do well? Did Mo come through on all his promises? We'll get into it. We are pre recording this episode. This is going to be episode 14. I didn't say what episode we did last time. That's a mistake. But either way, episode 14, we're grading the offseason of the Cardinals. Before that, I guess, Brendan, any initial thoughts that you have on what Mozeliak said at the beginning of the year or beginning of the offseason and where we're at now?
I think we had a good offseason, even though the expectations coming into the offseason were, I think Mo might have overpromised a little bit, underdelivered. So that's kind of what you never want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. But I don't think he really meant to, as we'll get through some of these points that he did say. I don't think he meant to put us in that situation. I think he really did want to open up the pocketbooks, but as we'll talk about a little bit more, some of those situations just didn't really make sense to do.
Right. I agree. There were some areas where we definitely need help, but it just didn't fall into place when it came to the players that were on the market, the different histories that they have. And we can just get right into what did Mo say at the beginning of the offseason? What were his goals? Well, back on our third episode, we talked about the those different expectations that he had, and they were an everyday catcher, some pitching depth, and then a hitter who could add some protection for Arenado and Goldie, preferably a left-handed hitter. Now we'll just go one by one there. We'll start with the everyday catcher position, and for lack of a better term, I think Mo hit this one out of the park because there was a lot of speculation on how this would go down. It seemed as though we were going to trade with Oakland and possibly get rid of some key players like Dylan Carlson or I know people were asking for Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar. There were a lot of names thrown around that could have really given a good shakeup to our lineup. But instead, Mo goes out, spends some money, and gets Wilson Contreras. Probably, in my opinion, I know Correa did his thing this offseason, and Aaron Judge, he wasn't going to go anywhere. He just needed the right price. This was probably the biggest get, in my opinion, of the offseason. I mean, in terms of filling a hole, we've already talked about it a bunch. Yachty's gone after 2 decades of playing with the Cardinals. Who else do you get but the guy who idolized him and tried to emulate him in his game than in Wilson Contreras? And everything really fell into place. It seemed as though since about late last season, he was thinking about our organization as a good spot for him to land. And it seemed like everybody was kind of inching him that way. So I gave Mo an A+ here. I don't know what your thoughts there are, Brendan, on Wilson Contreras.
Well, first off, you gave him an A, and I added the plus. So, yeah,
Thought I'd
I
sneak
need.
that one by you.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, no, I had to give him the plus because I mean, this was the best move. Like you said, we talked about it back on our wish list episode that this was our wish, and it happened, and it was very attainable. I mean, Contreras is the guy that we needed. We didn't have to trade anyone away. We were able to open up the pocketbooks. It proves that they're not afraid to pay a player. It just has to be the right player, and I think Contreras was the perfect one in this situation. And now more and more videos are coming out just saying, like interviews with him and Jim Hayes talking about like, what the plan is coming up to the season. And the coolest thing is he's sitting out of the World Baseball Classic just to get to know the pitchers more and more. So I don't know. I'm falling in love with Contreras, that's for sure. And I'm excited for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think some of the best things. I mean, he's really good at messaging. Whoever's trying to help him with that, or if he's just really good at that.
Yeah.
But there's a story out there about a conversation that he had with his manager, Jose Maharis. Sorry about that. The new they knew Wilson as a player, they being the Cardinals, but they wanted to know Wilson as a person, who he really is. And Wilson had the same feeling. He knew what the Cardinal organization was, but he wanted to know how he would fit in, is kind of how the story goes. And they had the meeting. It sounds like Mo and Ali Marmal were there. I think possibly another person in the organization was there, but definitely those two. And apparently, after that meeting, Wilson Contreras told his manager, because he loved what they explained about the organization and his role that he would have. He said, Jose, I know the other teams may offer me more money, whatever, but whatever it is, make it happen. Like, make my contract with the Cardinals happen.
Hmm.
Like, he wanted to be a Cardinal and he wanted it to get it done no matter what it took. That's just, I know a lot of people are saying that Mo lied to Nolan Arenado to get him to come here. Like, I just don't buy that. There's obviously a plan. There's a lot of free agents that are going to be on the market next season. So if you, I'm sorry, free agent pitchers going to be on the market next season. So when you think about bringing on a guy like Contreras, then having Goldie and Arenado in your lineup, and then you bring on a couple of big time pitchers. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's their plan. Um, like, what kind of, just that kind of mentality just gets me so excited for. I know that we have to get excited for 23, but like 24, I guess not a lot of people think about that long game
Right.
that it is being a general manager, and like that just excites me even more, thinking that there is a plan in place. We're chugging along, and we're going to get to that point where this is going to be an elite ball club more than it already is.
Yeah, we have a window right now that's really special. We have Arenado and Goldie and Contreras that, like I said in a couple previous episodes, that like I mean they're probably just gonna retire with the Cardinals, and that's our window. And I mean we have Wayno for this year, which would be nice if we did something, but we're just gonna have to prove it. The starting pitchers are gonna have to prove that Mo was right, and he believes in the starting rotation. Uh, you and I also think that we'll be just fine with the starters that we have, and we do have depth. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Contreras, that's an A-plus move. We had a hole in the catcher position once Yachty left, probably the biggest hole, in any team in the league, and we filled it with the best the best positional player there was on the market, really.
Hmm. Agreed. And the only other thing that I think I want to bring up in the catcher segment, because that is really the only big acquisition that we made this offseason, is that there was a press conference in the winter warmups with Adam Wainwright, just him and the press, and they're asking him questions. And he talked about, obviously, since he's been here for such a long time, what he's noticed over the time since he's been in the organization. And he said at the beginning, um, they were winning. And obviously, they've been winning really since he came to the Cardinals. But there was a point in time where a lot of that winning came from players that were in the organization. Like, they started from the ground up. The only other person that I can think of coming over, well, we did have Beltran at the time, and Johnny Peralta wasn't that great of a get, but Matt Holliday, some of these guys were big name guys, but a lot of everybody else that was filling in the cracks were players that were in the organization. And what Adam said is that the Cardinals are starting to become this area again where you get a Pool, well, Pools came up, but you get an Edmonds, you get a Roland, you get the ball rolling with uh, I can't think of his first name, Jeff Weaver, I think. You get
Oh yeah.
some of these guys that just want to be on the Cardinals because they see the talent that wants to be there. And that again goes to your point about how this is the window. This is the window where Arenado, Goldschmidt, and Contreras are going to bring the heat and bring more attention to this ball club. and bring a free agent pitcher, hopefully again to the Cardinals in 2024. I think that it is that window.
Yeah, and you also see this across the league. Trey Turner goes to the Phillies. He could have gotten paid by the Dodgers. I mean,
Hmm.
the Dodgers would throw a bag at him, but he's got his good friend Harper over there, and you see it all over. It's more than just you
The
know
money.
the money. They know like Arenado could opted out, but no, he wants to be teammates with Goldschmidt for as long as he can, and they're proving that that happens more than not at this point. And you've got this core of players. I mean, who wouldn't want to pitch behind this defense? So
Right.
looking forward to the next couple seasons. I mean, I'm confident that Mo wasn't just BSing. I mean, he's gonna open the pocketbooks at the right time.
Right. And don't forget, Shohei Ohtani is one of those free agent pitchers. Um, but we'll
And
move
lefty
on.
bats that we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll move on to that next bullet point of pitching depth. Where are we at with pitching depth? Well, in my opinion, I don't think Mo really focused on this hardly at all. I mean, it showed. I give this section a D, almost an F, and it's basically an F for me when he lets a guy like Quintana walk without offering him anything. At least that's what it seems like, because you would think that Quintana would want to pitch to Contreras again. They obviously did in Chicago. They were battery mates. But there's just no reason that Quintana should be on the Mets, especially because of that battery mate situation. And it almost gets just, I mean, I don't know. It's weird that we didn't try to do anything in terms of starting pitching, because obviously we have a lot of what ifs. If those what ifs do go well, then like it's super upside. But like if they don't, then we're struggling kind of like we were last year, putting guys who shouldn't be starters, i.e., um, Jordan Hicks, into the rotation, and just having to fight to stay alive through the big summer months. Um, but like other than that, I really think that just sticking to the Rule 5 draft wasn't necessarily the best idea in terms of telling your fans that you are looking for pitching depth and then trying to get it at the cheapest amount. There are some guys on there that do look like they are decent pitchers that can be really effective for us if they come out of spring training well. But other than that, like I said, I think he just kind of dropped the ball in terms of looking for pitching.
Yeah, you gotta give this one at least a D minus. The only pitcher right now that's kind of helping with pitching depth is, like you said, coming from the Rule 5 draft, Wilking Rodriguez, which in previous episodes we have gotten excited about, or at least I have. And but it is just a bullpen piece that he's not a starter. So we'll see. I'm sure he was on the lookout, but if there was a bet to be made when the offseason started that Quintana would be on the Cardinals in 2023, I would have put some money on that because he had a great season with us, second half of the season, started the first game of the playoffs. I would have thought he'd want to come back. Who knows what happened behind closed doors with that one? Did we
Hmm.
even reach out to him? That's a very weird situation. And then we also threw out some other options: Corey Kluber, Nathan Eovaldi, Matt Moore. There were options out there that were very, easily attainable. And we opted not to do that. And like we've been saying, I think we'll be just fine. We really believe in our guys, but if that is an area that Mo was trying to go for, he definitely missed. He definitely didn't do great on that aspect.
Right. And the only other last thoughts that I have on Quintana is that again, there's just no excuse to not even to not have him on the team, really. I mean, it wasn't a situation like with Colton Wong where Wong was out of time. Mo was trying to get this deal done with Nolan Arenado, and it just didn't seem like there was money to put toward Colton. Now, people can argue whether or not that's the case, but at the same time, Colton at that point had worked himself to a pretty substantial contract. So that is why the Brewers got Colton, and that was why we got Nolan, is because time just didn't work. But at this point, like, you brought on his battery mate of 4 seasons. Like, there's no reason that this lefty who was substantial, who started game one of the playoffs for you, um, just up and walks and goes to be a part of one of the best pitching staffs in the game right now.
Yep. Yeah, ate a lot of innings for us too. Probably is going to stay healthy for the Mets. You know, just a solid 4 or 5 starter. Yeah, I mean, just a guy that we kind of, I don't want to say needed, but would have been a nice asset in this rotation.
Yeah. And now we can move on. The third bullet point that Mo had brought up was a left-handed hitter, or just a hitter to protect Arenado and Goldie. And I think he got one in Wilson Contreras. I think that is one of the other beneficial parts of signing Wilson Contreras, is you not only just get a catcher, but you get that offensive potential that he's proven to have. I mean, David Ross has just been using him really for his bat, for the last couple of seasons. So um, that opportunity is there, but at the same time, it isn't that left-handed hitter that he stated he wanted to get this offseason. We talked about several options that he could go for. You brought up Joey Gallo, and I slapped you across the face for it. I brought up Matt Carpenter, and I got slapped across the face for it by Cardinals Twitter. But at the same time, like, there were options that are out there, and it just doesn't seem. Again, I put a question mark because I don't know what grade to even give this. It doesn't seem like the Cardinals have even tried to get a left-handed hitter. Um, the most recent position player that they brought onto the team is a catcher who hasn't seen like a lot of big league play, and he's a right-handed hitter. So I'm not sure if this is still even on the table, if this was just something that he said, and then he was like, "Oh, we got Contreras," so that fills in the hitter to protect Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt area. But again, like, I don't know what grade to really give this, because it doesn't seem like they even really tried.
I think he might have had some kind of amnesia at that point. Uh, that's what I'll give him an exemption for this grade, because I think what happened is he said that and then he looked at the roster and was like, "Oh, we have Lars Nootbaar and Brendan Donovan and Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman." It's like, oh, there's
We
four
have a
lefties right
plethora.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and like, what what's the benefit of signing a lefty if unless it's an elite left-handed hitter? But like, what's the
Hmm.
benefit when we have all these young guys that are all lefties that have tons of potential? I mean, Nolan Gorman one day hitting in between Arenado and Goldie is something that I could totally see.
Hmm.
Give him some lineup protection, and so we've got the lefties on our roster. It is weird that he came out and said, "Oh, we need left-handed depth." It's like, I feel like that's all we have is
Yeah.
left-handed
For the first
depth.
time in a while.
Yeah, even though the starting lineup is full of righties, we've got lefties ready to
Yeah.
go. So yeah, I don't really have a grade here. I'm just gonna exempt him from this one.
The only other option that I can see being a possibility is if Brian Reynolds is a possible trade candidate for the Cardinals. Again, that means that we'd have to get rid of a couple of people that could possibly leave a hole in the lineup. But when you're filling it with Brian Reynolds, you can maybe give up an outfielder, to put into that spot. But at the same time, like, it just doesn't seem like he is going to get dealt. I mean, he's still got years of control. So there's no reason that the Pirates have to deal him.
Yep.
It's a little bit of a difference between the NBA and the MLB. Like, a player can't just say, "I want to be dealt," and then he gets dealt.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Big
there's
difference.
there's a little bit of a team kind of blocking you from making that happen. But at the
Yeah.
same time, he's expressed his dissatisfaction with being in the organization. I hope that changed with. We didn't mention in our last episode, Andrew McCutchen is back in
Yes, he is.
Pittsburgh. So I hope that kind of changes his attitude, because I'm sure that it would be fun to play with Kutch. Um, it sounds like he's going to play right field to Reynolds' center field, which makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, like that's the only person that I can think of that's technically on the market that would fill this void.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we saw the Marlins trade for Luis Arraez that we talked about last episode. He's obviously one of the more elite bat to ball skill type player, but we already have that. And, and then you're like, oh, well, there might be some power guys out there, but, we already have that in Gorman. So I think we kind of have our bases covered there. Um, it would be fun to see Joey Gallo in between those two guys, though. I'm not
Well,
going to give that one up.
Gallo's up in Minnesota now, so
He is.
he's taken over, I guess, that position of Arise. If he
Yeah,
can
quite the difference.
if he can figure out how to hit.
Quite the
Um,
different player. I would say they're actually the complete opposite.
Um, but other than that, I mean, the only report that we've seen this offseason that the Cardinals are still in the conversation for somebody is that there was a Jim Bowden article in The Athletic reporting that there's a certain player that the Cardinals are targeting for a trade that they cannot make public because it would, I guess, screw up the trade possibility. And I mean, the only other person that I could think that trade would be about would be Pablo Lopez because he was obviously being dealt by the Marlins, but like they were open about that. So who is this certain player? And is that still even an option? Is that just like clickbaity article for Jim Bowden to get some traffic to his page? I don't know. It seems like it might be because there is no indication that the Cardinals are making any more moves this offseason. And he was very emphatic that the Cardinals were not done yet. So I'm not sure if there's a certain player out there, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think we're pretty ready to go at this point. Um, that's all my thoughts on that, pretty much. I did want to ask though, what do you think about Aaron Goldsmith?
Yeah, so that you're referencing the fact that there's been reports out there that Goldsmith, who is the play-by-play guy for the Mariners, as basically the front runner. That's the most recent thing that I've seen. It's basically just down to contractual negotiations on whether or not he'll be the play-by-play for the Cardinals next season. And I mean, he's obviously a great play-by-play guy. He's very enthusiastic, which gets you excited about baseball. Um, I think it's great. It's an unfortunate situation to be in. I mean, because obviously, some of my favorite games last season were when Dan McLaughlin and Brad Thompson were in the booth together. I mean, they worked together so well, and it got me excited to watch games, especially after a game that Jim Edmonds would call, because he would literally call the game without Danny being able to say anything.
Yeah,
But
it's terrible.
um, and it'll be interesting to see how Goldsmith, if
I
he is
have
put into
breaking
the,
news. Breaking news, okay? I was like, for some reason, I was like, I need to check Twitter.
did that
Breaking
happen?
Aaron Goldsmith has withdrawn himself from consideration for the play-by-play role, with Chip Correa, grandson of legendary announcer Harry Correa, becoming a prime candidate to fill position.
Well, how about we stop talking about that? Okay,
Dang,
that's
that sucks
interesting.
because I really liked the videos that were coming out as Aaron Goldsmith. But
Yeah.
anyway, at least we got some breaking news.
Yeah,
Uh,
Chip Correa called Jorge's home run.
Correa is a
Mm.
talented broadcaster who would be a great addition. Um, I guess he's an older guy. I don't know. We'll have to dive deeper into him.
I literally saw a report that said that like it was just down to dotting the T's and and crossing the
Yeah,
or crossing the T's and dotting the I's, but it sounds like it wasn't that close, I guess.
I guess
So
not.
Chip Correa is going to be the play-by-play guy.
It's saying this says Chip Correa will take over as the Cardinals play-by-play announcer.
All right. Well, how about you bring that up after researching it before we
Well,
go
it
on the
just
air?
came
No.
out.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. All right. Well, uh, that's interesting. I haven't heard anything from Chip Correa. The only reason I looked into Goldsmith is because, well, I had heard the call from last season when they entered the playoffs or were able to be in playoff contention, and obviously that's an exciting one. Um, but I'll have to look into Chip Correa, see how he is, and If he's older, that's not fun. I, I don't know what that means.
I know, me neither. The only picture I saw out there was it was him very old, but it was an old picture of him. So
So it's
so
like
he might
10
be
years ago, and he was like
yeah,
a dinosaur then.
yeah, more like 20 years ago, and he was
Yeah.
like 70 then. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to dive more into that,
That's
but
so Cardinals, dude. That's such a Cardinals move. Like to possibly get this electric guy that would probably make your franchise sound and look a little bit better. And then they were like they couldn't make it happen, so they just get this old fart that can't can't get excited about anything. I mean, they
okay,
let
but he can't be worse than either Jim Edmonds or
yeah, but it's going to be him
what's his
and
name?
Jim Edmonds.
No, it'll be Brad Thompson. Edmonds is gone. But what's the other guy's name? The catcher that was almost worse than Edmonds.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you
AJ
do.
Pierzynski?
No, 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 no. He's an older guy. Ah, shoot.
Oh, Mike Shannon?
Nope, 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 nope.
Tim
Uh,
McCarver.
Tim McCarver. Terrible.
Yeah,
That guy
but I
was
mean, they let Mike Shannon be the play-by-play announcer until he was like almost gone.
senile. Yeah, yeah, that was kind of sad.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
like that's so Cardinals. Like I get that he was a Cardinal, he's very famous St. Louis, but like spice it up, like make it
yeah.
exciting. Like he's
Dang, man.
yeah.
I was
That's
getting
unfortunate.
excited about Aaron Goldsmith.
I think a lot of people were. It was I saw a tweet that's pretty true. Um, almost true. As we're talking about the offseason, they said that the signing of Aaron Goldsmith would be the best signing of the offseason.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you take Contreras out of there, pretty much.
right. So I guess that concludes it. Chip Correa, is that the name? I don't,
Chip Correa
I've
is our
never even
new
heard of him.
announcer.
New play-by-play guy. Danny Mac, we're gonna miss you a whole hell of a lot this offseason or this season.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll just see how it goes, man. I mean, that really stinks because I mean Goldsmith just is probably a whole different caliber of a broadcaster. I was hoping that they'd give it. I mean, not I don't know because you're right. He's not he's more of a color guy, but Brad Thompson's just so good at bringing up and presenting stats. Like he makes it sound exciting.
And
So I
explaining the game. You know, he
yeah.
he brings up points where Jim Edmonds, I mean, he tries to like look way too he tries to like over fill you with knowledge that he has about the game. So he says all these fancy words that like a casual watcher would be like, "Oh, this guy really knows the game." But like when you
Hmm.
really know baseball, it's like, no, he thinks he knows. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, he knows a lot about the game, obviously, but he has this very irrelevant information that most time isn't true,
Hmm.
and it's very annoying to listen to him. So he
Well,
hopefully he's gone.
but the other thing that's good about Jim Edmonds is that he does know how to play and he also knows how to hit. But people forget because he is so annoying that he was a very good hitter.
Yeah,
And it sounds like Tyler O'Neill's actually been working with him. That was one of the things that I heard coming out of the winter meetings, or winter warm up, is that he was working with Edmonds at Edmonds's house, um, and just working on a swing, trying to get back to a good spot. And I mean, Edmonds more than anybody, when he does say something, like I really like what he says, but it takes him forever to get a gem. Like it's a
yeah,
pile of crap, and then underneath there's a gem, and he does have one like every other game.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, he's usually talking about how he was texting with somebody, and oh, it's insufferable. So we'll see how that goes. If we have an old dinosaur in the booth, then we have an old dinosaur in the booth, and we just I hope it's not a long contract. I hope it's just something to like get us through
interim.
23. Yeah,
Hopefully,
because I mean
yeah,
they certainly waited a whole hell of a long time to figure this out and then come up short. So um, not gonna make a lot of fans on the internet happy, that's for sure.
yeah. It looks like Twitter is kind of reacting, like very questionable.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
who the
know.
hell is he?
Yeah, Chip Corray. Oh wait, he's the Braves play-by-play announcer.
Chip
Maybe
Correa the
he's not as
third.
maybe he's not as old as I thought. Which one is he? I don't know. Maybe it's good. Maybe we shouldn't judge so fast.
We'll just cut this whole part out.
No, I like the breaking news.
I'm trying to think of Braves broadcasts and whether or not I like them.
I know.
Because I know for sure I do not like San Diego.
Yes, I
San
agree
Diego's
with that.
broadcasts are not good.
I guess I could have done a quick Google. He's 57.
Yeah, that's older than Dan McLaughlin, but not like super old. He doesn't look 57.
He doesn't have gray hair, so I mean he's doing well there.
It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Alrighty, well, sorry to be a downer on a guy that we know nothing about. But we will have to see how Correa works out, and just stop speculating because the Cardinals never follow the speculation. They subvert your expectations, and sometimes it comes out golden, um, and other times it comes out and you don't know who the hell your broadcast guy is going to be next season. Um, but with that, let's just close it out here. I don't have any other thoughts on the offseason other than it was pretty good and then pretty questionable. Um, and you can always just find us to talk to us on Twitter. We enjoy talking baseball. You can find us at red_jacket club on Instagram with the same name. Find us on YouTube, the Red Jacket Club. And then like, share this, subscribe. That would help us out a lot as we continue on this journey. Hopefully, soon here, after some trips that we have planned, we'll get into showing a little bit more about what we do in terms of playing baseball still, through just some vlogs that we'll make, our preparation for the season and everything like that. Other than that, we hope to see some games this year. We'll take some video of that as well and share it with you. But other than that, this has been the Red Jacket Club. I thank you for listening. Thank you for joining the club, and we'll see you next time.